This story starts with a person diving deep underwater to slip a letter into a mysterious mailbox, and the moment he resurfaces, the story snaps to him, sprinting for his life in his school, while breathlessly explaining that his name is Austin, he is a senior student, and the terrifying woman chasing him happens to be his principal. He then rewinds the entire chaotic day to justify why she is after him, admitting without a hint of shame that he is the kind of delinquent who treats studying like a distant rumor, spends his entire day annoying every living soul on campus, and consistently scores so poorly that the teachers have practically memorized his name for scoldings, but none of which he takes seriously. He even slips in a tragic slice of his family history, revealing that his parents died in a train accident when he was very young. A miracle somehow kept him alive. And since then, he has been raised by his aunt, a surgeon who loves him, but is chronically exhausted because he never allows her a peaceful day. His best friend is Tudo, an equally hopeless troublemaker who adores him enough to fund his disasters whenever needed. Although that loyalty wavered slightly the day Austin accidentally vomited into his bag, leading to both boys hiding in the washroom. Instead of apologizing, Austin amused himself by recording Tudo's misery and teasing him over a photo of Austin's aunt found in Tudo's belongings, joking that Tudo clearly had a crush on her. In that foolish moment, Austin accidentally captured Principal Min walking out of the boys' washroom. She was mortified, begged him to delete the video, but he bolted away without listening, prompting her to chase him across the school like a furious storm. The two kept running relentlessly until Austin spotted a scooter, but before he could escape, the class monitor Jingle snatched its key away, because she instantly understood from the principal's expression alone that Austin had caused another disaster. Austin offered her his phone in exchange for the key, and the moment she relented and he sped off, he was busy celebrating how brilliantly he had escaped everyone when he failed to notice an incoming car, sending the scooter flying into the air like a tragic firework. The scene shifts to Principal Min in the hospital, using a wounded man's phone to inform Austin's aunt of the accident, and when she reaches Austin's bedside, she unleashes all her fury, reminding him that he has crossed the line this time by injuring even the vice principal, which means expulsion is unavoidable. Austin panics and insists it was just an accident caused only because he was distracted looking back at her. Right when he pleads not to be expelled, a nurse walks in, glances at a report, and casually declares that he has cancer. This revelation freezes both Austin and Principal Min in absolute horror. Later at home, when his aunt confronts him about his endless mischiefs, he nonchalantly announces that he has cancer and demands the insurance money his parents left behind so he can spend his final days traveling peacefully. Only then does his aunt calmly reveal that he is not dying at all. The nurse had mixed up patient files, and his report is completely normal. Austin, instead of relief, spirals dramatically, complaining that he should have had cancer so he could finally live freely without expectations, since he firmly believes the future is a scam and that anyone could die any moment. So the only sensible philosophy is to live each day like the last. His aunt, pushed beyond patience, warns him that the moment he finishes school, she will throw him out of the house. Although she speaks in anger, Austin's heart quietly cracks and he sits in defeated silence. Returning to school depressed because the principal might still expel him and his aunt might not allow him to stay home either, he is approached by Jingle, who hands him his phone. He is shocked that she unlocked it, and after denying briefly, she recalls that she only managed it by testing countless passwords while Tudo's frantic messages kept vibrating the screen all night because she is, after all, the school topper. Right then, Tudo comes running in tears, dramatically demanding to know how his best friend could have cancer and leave him alone in this world. Jingle overhears this performance. Austin asks Leo where he learned this nonsense. Tudo mimics Principal Min and says she pitied him so much because of Austin's condition that she spared him from punishment during his latest mischief. This revelation horrifies Austin because it means the principal still believes he is terminally ill. She arrives at that exact moment and takes Austin aside, and in a complete reversal of her earlier rage, she tells him he can stay in the school peacefully and even skip classes if he feels unwell, as long as he takes no stress, leaving Austin ecstatic that she is not expelling him after all. Later, Austin confesses the whole truth to Tudo, that he is perfectly healthy but will now smartly use this misunderstanding to avoid studying. Tudo warns him that he does not look even remotely sick, so if he gets caught, he will not be allowed to take entrance exams. To help, Tudo gives him a dramatic sick person makeover that makes him look like he only has 48 hours left. But Austin hates it and washes it off immediately, declaring that acting skills alone are enough to fool the world. He then spends the day telling teachers he feels faint, sleeping in the medical room, and playing the fragile patient so convincingly that the entire school believes he has only a short time left. Yet the moment he tries the same line on a street food vendor and says he is too ill to eat spicy food, the vendor bluntly replies that he looks perfectly fine. Austin even tried whining to the street food seller and demanded that since he was apparently dying, he should get free food. But the man stared at him blankly and said, "If you're sick, good for you." Frustrated, he upgraded his scam by stealing food from his classmates, emotionally announcing that he had very little time left on this planet and the least they could do was donate their lunch to a dying friend. Tudo warned him not to overdo it or he would get caught. But Austin happily snatched Tudo's chicken leg as well, celebrating his own wicked genius, while Jingle's unblinking stare suggested she was beginning to suspect that something about his illness wasn't adding up, and just then her friend arrived to take her somewhere. On the other hand, Austin stared after the two of them. Later, Jingle confided in her friend Leo, who secretly adored her, that she felt Austin might be lying about his condition. Because no truly sick person would devour that much junk food, but Leo gently told her not to overthink. While he excitedly described a place he had been meaning to visit, an underwater letterbox where he wanted to drop his wish. Back in class, the teacher observed Austin's suspicious behavior and quietly assigned Jingle the duty of monitoring him, which she happily accepted, because she too had some suspicion. The next day, when Austin walked in and found Jingle sitting in Tudo's seat while Tudo was in hers, he demanded to know what they were doing. To which Jingle calmly stated that the teacher had asked her to watch over him, leaving Austin horrified. Moments later, he and Tudo held an emergency strategy meeting where Tudo insisted the teacher must have grown suspicious of his fake illness and had unleashed the extremely clever Jingle to expose him. Jingle arrived right then and asked to see Austin's medical report. This made Austin and Tudo slip into character immediately and give a perfectly rehearsed explanation about first-stage stomach cancer that needed regular checkups every 2 months. Jingle acted like she believed them, then took away all his chip packets and announced that, from today onward, Austin would eat only boiled food and drink only boiled water. That announcement almost broke his spirit. Soon after, she even brought food from her home, which Austin tasted and immediately compared to dog food. He asked how she could possibly eat such things that taste like dog food and whether she too had cancer, but she simply replied that she enjoyed eating healthy and that he should stop complaining because it tasted fine. Leo arrived and was startled to see Jingle sitting with Austin, while Austin glared at him in return. Although Leo invited Jingle outside, Tudo quickly refused on her behalf, insisting that Jingle wanted to stay with Austin, much to Austin's annoyance. When he later tried stealing more food from classmates, Jingle announced loudly that no one should give Austin anything unhealthy because it could kill him and possibly kill them too. This scared everyone into guarding their lunches and left Austin starving and miserable, while Leo, hurt and jealous, quietly watched Jingle fuss over someone else. Jingle's grip on Austin grew stronger by the hour. She blocked him from junk food, stopped him from doing mischief, shoved him away from vending machines with enough force that he once collided directly into the vice principal and had to run for his life. And she even prevented him from collecting the food he ordered from outside, pushing him to the edge until he began having nightmares about being exposed and expelled. One morning, he woke up panicked and begged Jingle to slap him so he could regain his composure, and she obliged so enthusiastically that he fainted again. This prompted the teacher to tell her she could ask for help next time because the teacher was excellent at fulfilling bad students' sleeping wishes, making the entire class burst into laughter. On his way home that day, Austin saw a train and was suddenly overwhelmed with memories of his parents' accident, sinking him into sadness so deep that he skipped school the next day. This made Jingle ask Tudo where he was, and Tudo, determined to protect Austin's lie, blamed her completely, saying she had tortured a boy who already had cancer and barely had time left, leaving Jingle genuinely worried that she might have gone too far. When school ended and she noticed Austin's bag still in the classroom, she went to his house to return it, only for Austin to snap at her again. Jingle told him to take his future seriously and stop behaving so recklessly, but Austin, frustrated, stepped in front of an incoming car and nearly got hit before yelling that if he died now, what future would he even have? He insisted he hated the word future itself because he wanted to live each day by his own rules, and she was suffocating him with her control. He stormed off, leaving Jingle hurt, and at home he threw his bag onto the bed only to find Jingle's diary inside, a diary filled with detailed notes about how he should fight cancer, manage his diet, maintain routine, and stay hopeful, making Austin realize that she wasn't trying to control him. She genuinely cared because she believed he was dying, and guilt washed over him for yelling at her. The next day he approached her to talk, but she didn't speak to him, carried her lunchbox away, and didn't bring food for him either, leaving Austin unusually heartbroken. Even when Tudo offered him his chicken, Austin refused because all he could think about was Jingle. Meanwhile, Leo asked Jingle why she was worried about Austin if she still suspected his illness was fake. And Jingle replied softly that she didn't think anyone could lie about something so serious, and she just wanted him to be okay. A confession that stung Leo because he clearly understood she had begun to care for Austin. Finally, on race competition day, Austin kept staring at Jingle, wanting to apologize, but every time she caught him looking, he pretended to be busy with something else, stumbling helplessly between guilt and affection. The race was just about to start when Jingle suddenly injured her foot, and seeing her wince in pain made Austin panic so aggressively that before she could even attempt running in that condition, he sprinted in like a malfunctioning superhero and completed the entire race in her place. This left Jingle astonished and unexpectedly touched by how earnestly he had stepped in to help her. But the warmth of that moment collapsed the very next day when she visited the doctor, and an enormous secret was revealed. Because it turned out Jingle had cancer and had been battling it for 3 long years, and now her chances of recovery were painfully low. This plunged both her and her mother into sorrow so heavy that she stopped coming to school altogether, which left Austin restless, scrolling through her Instagram pictures non-stop as if the algorithm might magically tell him why she had vanished, while Tudo teased him mercilessly, declaring that he had contracted the incurable disease of love, although Austin denied it with the confidence of someone who absolutely did not realize he was lying to himself. Meanwhile, Jingle, sitting gloomily at home, was suddenly ambushed by her parents dressed in school uniforms, trying to cheer her up by volunteering to be her friends since she barely had any at school. Just then, the doorbell rang, and there stood Austin, who claimed he had come to deliver homework on the teacher's behalf, though the truth was he simply missed her and needed an excuse. Surprised, but not unhappy to see him, Jingle welcomed him in when her mother invited him inside for dinner. During the meal, Jingle's father stared at Austin suspiciously before interrogating him about what type of cancer he supposedly had and whether he had undergone surgery, prompting Austin to nervously invent a story about having exactly 1 surgery. The father then demanded to see the scar, but Jingle quickly intervened and told him to let the poor boy eat. Austin finally regained the ability to breathe and began praising the food until Jingle casually reminded him that at school, he always compared the same meals to dog food, a comment that instantly offended her father who cooked daily. This made Austin scrambling to survive the awkward tension. Later, when the two sat together, Austin admitted that her parents were surprisingly warm and friendly, and Jingle said yes, they were wonderful, before gently asking about his own family. This made Austin reveal that he had lost both parents in a train accident as a child and had been raised by his aunt ever since, a confession that softened Jingle, who apologized for misunderstanding why he hated the concept of the future, realizing that he had lost everything in a single day. Austin even showed her a childhood toy he carried everywhere as a reminder of his parents, and the way he spoke made it painfully clear that he was beginning to like her more than he intended. So when Jingle asked if he was free on Sunday, he lit up with hope, only for that hope to be crushed when she took him to a cancer hospital event to motivate child patients. Tudo and Leo were also present, and when a little boy told Jingle he did not want to see a pretend fish but a real one, Jingle patiently promised he could go after recovery, whereas Austin bluntly said that who knows about tomorrow, so he should go today, which forced Jingle to drag him away before he depressed the entire ward. Later, Austin noticed Jingle talking with Leo and immediately asked why a scorpion's venom was present here and whether she liked Leo, leaving Jingle shocked as Tudo quietly arrived and explained that Leo suffered from epilepsy and Jingle had once saved his life, which was why they were so close. When Austin asked how Tudo knew all this, Tudo proudly said he was basically the school gossip queen who knew all gossip. Meanwhile, Leo nervously showed the doctor Austin's symptoms and asked about stomach cancer, further complicating things. That night, Jingle thanked Austin for helping at the event, and he promised to take her somewhere she would love next time, but she insisted they needed to focus on the upcoming exams because getting into university was extremely difficult. She urged him to study, and Austin boldly declared that if his aunt could become a doctor so easily, then he too could get into a top university until checking the cutoff scores nearly gave him an out-of-body experience. His aunt smirked and teased him, reminding him that she had already become a doctor while he still needed to worry about clearing school first, leaving him speechless. In the following days, Jingle grew increasingly anxious because Austin had been missing for 3 days straight, until Tudo showed her a photo of Austin studying intensely, explaining dramatically that the world had turned upside down and Austin had actually started studying for her, though he had no idea where to begin. This pushed Jingle into giving him extra classes and explaining subjects, priorities, and schedules, yet Austin still looked hopelessly confused. Even Leo reluctantly joined to help. Although every time Austin struggled, Leo insulted him by saying the question was beyond Austin's intellectual capacity, which naturally irritated him. Day by day, Austin started changing. He stopped playing, stopped running around, studied while talking, studied while eating, studied while breathing, and even shushed Tudo, forcing him to study too. His aunt became confused and asked whether he was sick, to which Tudo replied that yes, he was lovesick. Eventually, exam day arrived, and when the results came out, Austin's soul temporarily left his body because, despite his dramatic transformation and all his effort, his marks were still tragically low. Jingle tried to cheer Austin up by gently reminding him that at least he had performed better than last time, but he was already drowning in frustration. He ripped pages out of his notebook and began eating them as if literary fiber might magically improve his academic absorption, which finally made Jingle realize that the poor boy badly needed a break. She dragged him out and took him to a glowing jellyfish tunnel, explaining that watching the floating creatures always calmed her mind. As they wandered through the place, Austin secretly recorded her, which gave Jingle a faint suspicion that he might actually like her, making her awkwardly quiet. Austin, exhausted from his emotional roller coaster, placed his head on Jingle's lap, sending her nerves spiraling into full-blown chaos. Later, as they play-fought their way back home, they were startled to find Leo waiting outside Jingle's house with dumplings, asking whether they had been out together. Before Jingle could answer, Austin proudly announced that they had been on a date, which Jingle immediately corrected, saying it was nothing like that, and they had simply gone out for a walk. She waved them goodbye and went inside. Leo, however, stayed behind and privately told Austin that he had learned from a doctor that Austin did not have cancer and urged him to tell Jingle the truth. He also admitted that he liked Jingle and planned to confess his feelings to her on graduation day, asking Austin not to deceive her anymore. Austin stood silently at first, then walked very close as if he might punch him, only to suddenly change direction and quietly say that his house was the other way, leaving Leo completely confused. Eventually, graduation day arrived and the campus buzzed with excitement. Tudo blushed like a tomato when a girl handed him a love letter, only for everyone to burst into laughter when she clarified that the letter was actually for Austin because apparently even romance had standards. But Austin's heart was focused on only one person, Jingle, and remembering Leo's plan, he searched everywhere. Meanwhile, Jingle was with Leo, who had just confessed his longtime feelings. Jingle looked stunned, neither accepting nor refusing. She didn't know how she would handle the situation. Meanwhile, Austin, breathless from running, reached her and panicked internally about confessing his own emotions, unsure if she felt anything for him. When Jingle began to walk away, he finally blurted out that he liked her and asked if she could ever like him back. This made Jingle shocked as she just got a proposal from 2 guys in a row. She stared at him, while the noise of the celebration drowned everything around them. When she tried to tell him that she was ill, he could not hear her at all, so she simply told him she would give him her answer on the 16th of November, leaving him completely confused by her mysterious timeline. That night, he overanalyzed every possible reason behind the strange date, while Tudo excitedly announced that both of them had passed and would get into university. Austin barely reacted because his mind was stuck on Jingle. The next day, he tried to impress her by suggesting that they take the child cancer patients to see real fish, an idea Jingle immediately loved, prompting her and Leo to discuss permissions with a doctor who readily agreed. Meanwhile, Leo remembered how Jingle had stayed silent when he confessed but lit up when Austin confessed, breaking his heart so intensely that he held his breath underwater out of pure emotional drama before deciding he would simply support her as a friend. Later, on their way home, Austin taught Jingle how to ride a scooter, and the two of them laughed non-stop, creating memories that felt suspiciously like the beginnings of love. The next day, they excited the children by announcing their upcoming fish trip, followed by playing Truth and Dare, during which Jingle unexpectedly asked whether Austin had ever lied to her. This instantly sent him into panic because the cancer lie sat on his head like a ticking bomb, but Leo cleverly rescued him by pulling Jingle aside for an urgent distraction. Afterward, Austin awkwardly thanked Leo, who again reminded him to tell Jingle the truth someday. After they shared a brief, playful race, Leo suddenly collapsed when a seizure struck. Austin is terrified of confusion with no one around to help, forcing him to call an ambulance and pray that Leo would make it in time. Now we see Austin at the hospital, sitting silently with the tiny childhood toy he always carried, staring at it as if it held every memory he ever tried to forget, especially the train accident that took away his parents and left him with scars far deeper than anyone knew. Just when he was already drowning in those memories, the news came that Leo had not survived, sending a shockwave through everyone. For Jingle, the blow felt even sharper when Leo's mother sent her a letter he had written for Jingle, the same one he once mentioned he wished to drop into the underwater mailbox, a thought that made her break down even harder as she remembered how excited he had been about that silly, sweet dream. Meanwhile, Austin, still haunted by the moment Leo collapsed right in front of him, packed his bags with trembling hands because he had secured admission in a faraway university, though guilt hung over him like a shadow. His aunt gently sat him down and told him nothing that happened was his fault, and asked him to stop torturing himself for something he could never have prevented, reminding him that growing up sometimes meant facing consequences with honesty, and that lies only multiplied into more lies. She then handed him the card and documents containing all the money his parents had left for him. Austin met Jingle one last time before leaving, casually asking her to go shopping even though it was really just a desperate excuse to apologize. He returned her diary where she had dedicated pages of routines for his imaginary cancer journey and finally confessed everything: that he was never sick, that he had lied only to escape expulsion, and that the lie kept growing until he could no longer control it. He begged her to forgive him. Jingle stood frozen, blindsided by the revelation that he had fooled her about something as serious as cancer. The betrayal hit even harder because she had genuinely cared for him. She went home and texted him that she was glad he was healthy, but she no longer wanted any contact, blocking him immediately. Meanwhile, Austin, holding on to that message like a punishment, left for university with a hollow heart. Months passed, and Austin changed completely. He attended classes quietly, avoided trouble, and spent his free time by the sea thinking about Jingle. He sent her long messages with photos to show he was doing fine, even though they never delivered because she had still blocked him. One day, Tudo visited Jingle and told her Austin had sent a video, asking her to watch it at least once, reminding her that although the lie was wrong, Austin had never intended to hurt her and had never imagined she would care so much. Tudo said she should at least consider forgiving him. Jingle didn't respond, but later sat alone and watched the video anyway. In it, Austin poured his heart out, saying her smile brightened his entire day and that she had taught him to believe in the future, something he never thought possible, and that he wanted to build that future only with her. But the video only made Jingle cry harder because her condition had worsened, and she had not joined university precisely because she knew she would not live long. Yet the very next day, she surprised Austin by visiting his campus, leaving him stunned and overwhelmed with joy. They spent the day together pretending everything was normal, and later she took him to the water so he could post Leo's letter. Austin carried it into the deep and slid it into the underwater mailbox, fulfilling Leo's last wish. But while he was underwater, Jingle fainted on the shore, her body giving out again, and Austin returned to find her unconscious. He rushed her to the hospital, where we saw her hand already showing frightening changes. When Jingle woke up, Austin was sitting by her side. He had already learned about her late-stage cancer, yet he still forced himself to act normal so she wouldn't break down by seeing him break. He even joked that she was just as good an actor as he had been, saying she fooled people by pretending to be healthy while he fooled them by pretending to be sick, which made her laugh softly before she admitted she simply wanted to live normally without being pitied. Austin fell silent and apologized, but Jingle refused to let him apologize. Later, Austin went to his aunt and the doctors, begging them to save Jingle somehow, no matter what it took. Austin kept insisting that he was ready to do anything for Jingle, absolutely anything if it meant saving her. But everyone around him, from the doctors to the nurses, kept giving the same heartbreaking answer. It was no longer possible to save her. They still promised they would try whatever little they could. Austin walked back into her room, forcing a smile, pretending everything was normal, joking that if he pressed that button, her bed would fold and turn her into a sandwich. She laughed as she tried to look at him properly, before whispering that she wanted to belong to him forever because she had liked him from the very beginning. She said she wanted to become Austin, and he froze for a moment before Jingle, with her weakening voice, explained that when she first saw him, she found him annoying, but every time she watched him enjoy life without caring about the future, living moment by moment, something inside her softened. She began wanting to be like him, wanting to feel the freedom he carried so easily. As she said all this, her eyes slowly closed from exhaustion, leaving Austin even more shattered after finally learning she had liked him all along. Days passed quietly until we saw them sitting together again, with Austin trying his best to smile and pretend everything was fine, while Jingle spoke about Leo, about how he too had so many dreams for his future: a stable job, a peaceful life, staying forever with someone he loved, but sometimes the present crushes the future before it even begins. Austin gently handed Jingle her new ID card, where he had secretly added his surname to her name, and even wrote his own name in the husband column as if declaring that she belonged to him forever. This left Jingle so overwhelmed, she almost burst into tears. Then she asked him to repeat the lines from the video he once sent her, so Austin softly repeated his entire heartfelt confession about how meeting her had changed him, taught him to believe in the future, and how he wanted to spend that future only with her because he truly, deeply liked her. This made Jingle cry uncontrollably, until Austin too couldn't hold back anymore, and both of them wept like children. Jingle cried profusely that she didn't want to go. She wanted to stay with him in the future too. But God seemed determined to separate them for reasons she couldn't understand. She wished she could stay with him forever. Austin, trembling, promised that she would always live in his heart, that he would remember her every single day. And then, those last remaining 2 or 3 days slipped away, until finally, Jingle left the world, leaving Austin heartbroken beyond what words could explain. Months later, Austin visited Jingle's parents again, because he kept coming to them like a son, and they embraced him the same way, the three of them missing her together. Austin then walked into Jingle's room, missing her all over again, and placed his childhood toy, the one that stayed with him since the train accident, on her shelf before heading once more to the underwater mailbox. He carried the letter he had written for her, diving deep into the water where he read the lines in his mind, remembering how Jingle once said she wanted to become him and how he had gone to change her name legally that day. He cried uncontrollably because he had no idea she had been suffering so much or that she would leave him so soon. In his letter, he wrote that even though there were a million things he wanted to tell her, he would start with one truth. She never knew that she wanted to be like him, but in reality, he always wanted to be like her: intelligent, kind, calm, sweet, everything he wasn't. Thanks to her, he now believed in the future he once hated. He had goals and plans, and he promised he would live his entire life in her name, fulfilling every dream she couldn't complete. He also wrote that he wished they could have frozen time, built their own world in the present, and that he would have held her hand forever. But life never stops for love, no matter how much we beg. After finishing, Austin slipped the letter into the underwater box, feeling an odd mixture of pain and peace. The story now ended with his imagination of standing still with Jingle, holding her hand as time itself stopped around them,